Hello, my name is M.K.Davis, and this is part 3 of a discussion about the lost continent of Lemuria, or Mu. And what I want to talk about this time is some of the geography of Mu and what happened to the people as they left Mu and spread across the earth. So let's get into that a little bit. First off, we'll talk about what the Spanish found when they went into Bolivia and Peru. You'll see everything was just in absolute disarray, as if some huge catastrophe had tossed these giant blocks of stone as if they were tinker toys. It was pretty much the same throughout the area. The nearby ruins of Tiwanaku were similarly destroyed, just huge blocks of stone. And it's always been a mystery as how it got destroyed, because this is at an area I think it's around 13,000 feet in altitude above the tree line. So there's not even any trees. You see this huge stone here. This is the gateway of the sun. It's been restored, but this is how they found it, all torn up, as if some huge disaster had undertaken all of the area around there. And the only thing that could really move stones of that size and tumble them is water, some huge inundation of water, a wave. When I first came across James Churchward's account of his translation of some tablets in India that described the lost continent of Lemuria, or Mu, and his description of how the people left that island continent and spread across the earth and the conditions that existed then, it really made a lot of sense as far as what you see there in Bolivia and Peru as far as these ruins go. And I'll just briefly go over that. Now, this right here is a map that's in Churchward's book. I think it's called The Children of Mu. And it basically shows how the world looked according to those texts way back then, before the sinking of Mu and Atlantis. Okay, so if you look at that, you'll see that the island of Mu, the continent of Mu, in the Pacific Ocean, the very southeast corner is Easter Island. And then if you go directly across, you'll see what they call over in Bolivia and Peru area the Amazonian Sea, or the Amazon Sea. And the sea levels, according to Churchward, were much higher at that time. And there were some shallow oceans that no longer exist now, and one of those was up the Amazon basin. So it came all the way up, and the lake of Titicaca overflowed into that Amazon Sea. And then there was a man-made canal from Titicaca across to the Pacific. And the reason why that was because at that time, as Churchward explains, there were no mountains. The Andes did not exist. So the Lake Titicaca and the Tiwanaku area and Pumapunku were almost at sea level. And that's where the water inundation and tumbling of the stones come into the story, because Churchward explains that there was a huge disaster, a geomagnetic disturbance of some kind, where perhaps some heavenly body came very close to the earth, or something happened that caused a tremendous wave to go through that area. And it pretty much wiped out every living thing in there. And then, much later, there was a mountain building process from underneath, and that pushed the mountains up. So Tiwanaku and Pumapunku were raised up to the current altitude that they are now, in the 13,000 foot, area altitude. And so you look at them and you scratch your head and say, how did they have a flood way up here? Well, according to the text that Churchward translated, the flood came first, and then later the ruins of these two places were lifted up. So to me, that does explain a lot. Now, although it doesn't show it here, Churchward, I think, was primarily concerned with showing the Amazon Sea, but according to what the book said that he wrote, that they were shallow oceans up the Amazon basin, there were shallow oceans up the central Mississippi Valley in North America, and there was also a shallow sea in the St. Lawrence Seaway area of North America. And when the continent of Atlantis sunk, that the oceans poured into the submergence hole, and it caused the oceans all over the world to go down. And when they did, the area of Florida emerged. The shallow seas dried up in the central Mississippi Valley, and the shallow sea up the Amazon Valley dried up as well, and left that area a river and swamplands and lowlands, but no sea. And so it cut off the access from the Pacific to the Atlantic that the Lemurians had used to colonize Atlantis. And man had spread over to that area of the world through that inland sea way back when. Now, understand, that what I'm relaying here is not my own thinking, but is the translations from some Nacaal texts in India that was translated by James Churchward. And this is what he said those texts contained, the story of how they went out across there. Different people from Lemuria, the different races of mankind spread across the earth from that point on over a period of time. Now, when the great disaster came and the motherland sank, which would be Lemuria or Mu, it left a lot of these colonies just without any connections back to the old ways, and they went their own way and developed their own cultures and religions, and became what we know of today as far as the cultures of mankind. Here's some interesting stuff right here, though. Now, this is an example of some of the carvings at Pumapunku, and according to Churchward's book on symbols from Mu, this means the four creative forces of the infinite one, or the one true God, as they emanate from him. And it's a symbol of Mu, a sign from Mu that existed in Pumapunku, which kind of pointed to Pumapunku being settled and a colony of the Lemurians at one time, and in those times long ago. Here's another one. Now, what you're looking at here is some very finely detailed and intricate carvings from Pumapunku in one of those blocks of stone that was left tumbled and spread about. But what you're looking at is the letter T carved more than once, and that is a Lemurian symbol called the Ta'u. And the Ta'u is a symbol of Mu, as she was, and when she existed above water. And it's the motherland. And when you see it in multiples like that, 1, 2, 3 stacked up, it means that from 1 came 2, and from 2 came 3, and from 3 came everything. So that's why they made it in multiples like that. And it was a very seriously venerated symbol of the motherland of Lemuria, according to James Churchward. Some pretty interesting stuff there, isn't it? It's amazing to be able to know what these symbols mean. So, if I'm certain that while James Churchward may not have been correct on every matter, I think he was definitely onto something. And you have to remember that this was not his writings either. He was taught how to translate those texts by the priests there that were caring for the tablets in India, and so that's how he learned to translate them. And when he translated them, he was as much in awe of the story of those ancient times as I am today, and I'm sure other people are as well. Anyway, it's pretty interesting stuff, and stay tuned for part 4. And I thank you for your time.